With this negotiation tactic, So-Hyun stands outside his home, now 600 million won richer. As he enters his home, his mom cheerfully welcomes him. But So-Hyun immediately notices a bruise on his mother's face. Seeing this devastates So-Hyun, and he immediately inquires about the scar. His mother reveals that she sustained it while trying to break up a fight between customers. Filled with concern, So-Hyun insists that she quit her job without any delay. Reluctant, his mother explains that it's no big deal. More importantly, she needs to earn enough for So-Hyun's college tuition. She says this is the least she can do as his proud mother. Hearing her words, our main character's mind flashes back to the previous life, his real mother scolding him for not being good enough, urging him to strive harder. She wanted Kim Sung to be a powerful hero to make her proud. She never really cared for his own desires. Snapping back to reality, So-Hyun finally confesses to his mother that he has become an awakener and no longer wishes to attend college. To his surprise, his mother already knew. And understanding the dangers involved with being an awakener, she is worried for So-Hyun's safety. Despite her concerns, she knows So-Hyun is serious about this profession, so she encourages So-Hyun to follow his heart. This is just too wholesome. Guys, I need W's in the chat for So-Hyun's mom right now. And maybe drop a few L's in the comments for the old mom as well. So-Hyun reveals that he has earned enough for them both, urging his mother to quit her job. As he displays the astonishing sum of 600 million won in his bank account, his mother is left utterly shocked. She heads off to prepare a special dinner while So-Hyun sits with a newfound realization. Though he may not be the original So-Hyun, he is determined to improve the real So-Hyun's life and transform him into a true hero. It's his way of saying thanks to the real So-Hyun if he ever returns to his body. With this second chance, So-Hyun is resolved to protect the peace of their world. Later, So-Hyun comes to the realization that he no longer possesses a weapon since the lick destroyed it. Elsewhere, we see a blacksmith toiling away in his shop. He is master craftsman Diho, and there is a persistent knocking on his door. He tries to ignore it first, but at last he swings open the door, only to find So-Hyun standing there, wearing a warm smile as if meeting an old friend. In a flashback we see, Holy Sword Bamo, known as the sacred sword that slays dragons, was the very blade that our main character wielded in his previous life. It was a masterpiece crafted by Master Diho himself. He used countless materials gathered by the efforts of countless awakeners to make the sword. We go even further back when our hero enters Master Diho's shop, and Diho presents the Holy Sword Bamo. Diho proclaims it as one of the greatest masterpieces of his life. However, the hero refuses to accept it, believing that Diho has used too many of his own precious materials, irreplaceable materials that Diho was saving till now. Diho responds,
I have heard that people have started calling you their hero. You are so famous that even a man like me, who never leaves his shop, has heard of you. It seems the more famous you become, the more burdened you feel. Isn't it unfair that people expect so much from you, even though they haven't done anything for you yet? You strive your hardest to meet their expectations. They say you are the only one who can save them, but just as you do things for free, people can also do favors without a price. This sword is my way of repaying you, even if only a little.
Moved by Diho's words, the hero accepts the sword. Our main character calls Diho his savior, but sadly, after a while, Diho was also killed by the monsters. He became one of the people our main character failed to protect in his previous life as Kim Sung. Now, back in the present time, So-Hyun introduces himself to Diho and requests him to forge a custom sword. However, Diho dismisses him, refusing to create weapons for a nobody. Understanding Diho's weakness, So-Hyun reveals that he has prepared a special material for him. Intrigued, Diho takes a look and is astonished to find the highest grade ether stone. This ether was also part of the reward box So-Hyun got for defeating the Lick. This particular grade of material has never been seen before in their world. In So-Hyun's previous life, the Gwangju dungeon was supposed to become an outbreak, and only after defending against the monsters that poured out, only then the world was supposed to find this exceptional material. Generally, ether stones possess nearly infinite uses, but their most important one is weapon crafting. Meanwhile, after seeing the amazing quality of the material, Diho agrees to take on the job of creating a sword for So-Hyun, and he reaches for the contract papers. However, So-Hyun stops him, saying they don't need a contract, expressing his trust and belief that Diho enjoys the process of forging a sword rather than the monetary reward. Diho chuckles at So-Hyun's remark, finding him to be quite interesting. They part ways, but before leaving, So-Hyan selects a temporary sword for his use. As he steps away, So-Hyan enters the Tower of Trials, and his speedrun of floors begins.
You are entering the abyss. You are now challenging the 11th floor, difficulty set to level 10. You are now challenging the 12th floor, now challenging the 13th floor, challenging the 14th floor, 15th floor, 16th, 17th, and 18th.
So-Hyan flawlessly clears each floor up to the 18th floor, dedicating half a year to this endeavor. Half a year later, in a hospital, we find Johu lying on a bed, injured from pushing himself too much. He tried to clear the tower at level 5 difficulty. Johu is determined to grow stronger and catch up to So-Hyan. He wants to fight alongside him. Suddenly, his phone rings, and it's So-Hyan on the other end. So-Hyan is called to ask for 3 favors from Johu, since Johu is a pretty dependable and well-connected guy. For starters, So-Hyan asks Johu to find a nicer place in which he can move in with his mother. Second, he wants all the information about the Dump Guild, anything at all. And third, he informs Johu about the first massive outbreak that will happen on the 24th of December. Tens of thousands of people will lose their lives, and it will be the greatest tragedy they have ever seen. It will start soon after a green dungeon will pop up in Anyang City, and later things would go wrong and monsters will pour out of it. So-Hyan wants Johu to help with this outbreak. Johu obviously asks, how do you know all of this? To which So-Hyan simply says, just trust me on this. 1.5 years have already passed since So-Hyan came to the past, and he has been preparing for Anyang City outbreak from the start. Now he only has half a year to finish his preparations. So-Hyan believes if he manages to clear the 20th floor and get his new sword on time, he would be ready for the upcoming outbreak. Right after that, So-Hyan enters the tower to face floor 19th, wasting no time. The environment changes to that of a desert, and So-Hyan is spawned high up in the air. He is free-falling directly at an animal carcass below him. The carcass is getting picked clean by thousands of monster rats. For his trial, he has been thrown headfirst into the nest of monster rats with the objective to survive. So-Hyan makes a solid landing, which alerts the rats, and the rabid rats run directly at So-Hyan, hungry for more food. So-Hyan attacks. He dashes through their lines, cleaving through dozens of them in one go. But suddenly, a rat manages to sneak up on him. But its attack only grazes So-Hyan's shoulder, and it gets dealt with in the next second. From the damage, it seems the rats have acid or poison attacks. More rats are about to reach So-Hyan when he activates his Divine Flames skill, which covers the whole ground in a fire. Meanwhile, So-Hyan leaps to a higher vantage point, and he keenly observes the flames, when suddenly, the rabid rats start to emerge out of them. One of them leaps forward. So-Hyan kicks away the rat and realizes that no matter what he is doing, he is unable to put a dent in their numbers. So-Hyan runs through them, cleaving and slashing the monsters, when his eye catches the sight of a crack in the ground. He immediately activates his flaming sword, aiming for the crack, his reasoning being, how will the rats get to him when there is no ground? So-Hyan throws the sword on the crack, and to finish things off, he jumps on it to finally collapse the ground. When below the ground, he is surprised to see ancient stone carvings and statues. Looks like he has found a hidden area, which appears like an ancient tomb. So-Hyan sees a rat, but it's shivering from the fear of an unknown entity. Running away, the rat activates a trap and gets destroyed. And moments later, from the dark corners of this tomb, emerges the real boss of the 19th floor. It is So-Hyan's old enemy, a predatory snake, but this one is on a completely different level, featuring a more mystical, dragon-like appearance. Immediately, the snake attacks with its tail. It's fast, but So-Hyan is faster. He dodges the tail and launches a counterattack with his swords. But his sword slashes have no effect. The snake's physical resistance is just too high. Quickly, So-Hyan then launches a flame attack, which hits the snake directly in its face. But even magic has no effect. The snake is completely unharmed. The snake slithers directly at So-Hyan and launches a barrage of powerful attacks. Its relentless onslaught is getting faster, more persistent, and even more unpredictable, coming from all directions. So-Hyan really is having a hard time. Suddenly, the snake lunges at So-Hyan, attempting to bite him. Acting swiftly, So-Hyan narrowly evades the attack, saving himself by jamming his sword into the snake's mouth in a move reminiscent of Harry Potter. However, unlike in Harry Potter, this snake possesses a mouth that is impervious to swords, both inside and out. The snake then slams So-Hyan into the wall, but So-Hyan is tough enough to handle that. The fight intensifies, and the snake pounces at So-Hyan once again. So-Hyan seizes the opportunity and leaps into the air, executing a powerful sword smash near the snake's eyes. Utilizing the impact, he propels himself even higher and grabs hold of a sturdy vine. Using the vine to his advantage, So Hyan swiftly traverses the walls of the tomb, skillfully maneuvering to outsmart the snake. With precision, he identifies a vulnerable spot near the creature's ear and successfully pushes back the monster, causing it to crash into a wall while still airborne. As the snake attempts to reach So Hyan, it employs its tail as a means of attack. However, So Hyan manages to narrowly dodge the strike, and as he descends, he swiftly runs his flaming sword across the monster's vulnerable underbelly. So Hyan falls to the ground, and before he can recover, the snake is about to reach him. But in a 9,000 battle IQ moment, So Hyan was manipulating the snake this whole time. The snake is now tied in vines, immobilized in mid-air. So Hyan smiles and activates his special skill, which calls the Divine Flame Phoenix. Since Divine Flame was a growth-type skill, it has evolved to the point that So Hyan can call upon the Flaming Bird. Since this consumes a lot of mana, So Hyan had to immobilize the snake first. So Hyan orders the bird to attack, and surprisingly without any problems, the bird runs straight through the insanely tough snake, ending it in a single blow. And with this, floor 19 is also cleared perfectly with a 100% achievement rate. The next day, we see Joho waiting for someone at the cafe. When a red Ferrari-type sports car pulls up outside, everybody is checking out the expensive car. When So Hyan is revealed to be its owner, Joho is excited to hear So Hyan's thoughts about the car. This luxury bad boy was gifted to So Hyan by Joho after he found out that So Hyan uses public transport even as an awakener. Acknowledging the increasing attention from onlookers, So Hyan and Joho decide to enter the cafe. Engaging in casual conversation, So Hyan casually mentions that he had been eagerly awaiting the completion of a custom sword before tackling the 20th floor. Transitioning to more serious matters, they discuss the close proximity of the cafe to Anyang City, where the massive outbreak is now a mere 2 months away. Joho shares the encouraging news that he has managed to secure a meeting with the director of the agency. If they can successfully convince the director, there is a possibility of receiving assistance during the outbreak. Moving on to their next agenda, Joho remarks on the elusive nature of the Dump Guild. Despite the increasing cases of missing or deceased awakeners, he speculates that this may be a result of the heightened difficulty of new dungeons. There is no way to find out if Dump Guild is involved in these failed raids. However, Joho mentions instances of awakeners appearing dead on the streets, having succumbed to some form of poisonous powers. This immediately triggers So Hyan's memory of Dongnong's abilities, prompting him to urge Joho to continue investigating this matter. After a while, So Hyan finds himself standing outside, contemplating the overwhelming uncertainty of their situation despite Joho's dedicated efforts. So Hyan ponders what lies ahead, unsure of what the future holds. He then takes his sports car straight to Master Diho's shop. Luckily, the sword is ready, and even though the sword is nothing compared to Bamong, the sword of his previous life, it's still pretty impressive. It feels as if this sword is alive. To assess its capabilities, So Hyan hurls another sword at it, only to witness the other sword shattering upon impact. Satisfied with the outcome, he bestows the name Graham upon his new sword. He decides to reserve the name Bamong for a future weapon, as it signifies a god-slaying sword and is intended for his revenge. Expressing his gratitude to Master Diho, So Hyan bids farewell and leaves the shop, ready to face the challenges that lie ahead, starting with floor 20. Transitioning to the next scene, we can see a medieval-type setting. There is a castle at night, and it is very well lit with torches. A spearman is patrolling when someone puts a hand on his shoulder. The soldier is on edge, but he calms down after seeing the face of his commanding officer, Commander Maxman. Maxman empathizes with the soldier, saying, "I know you have been on duty for several days, but hang in there just a little longer." Turns out, it's already been half a month since their nation is in a state of war, and things are getting more difficult as there is no support. A peculiarly dressed masked man approaches them. This man is the attaché, a government official appointed by the king to oversee the castle, dispatched soon after the Audrem kingdom declared war on them. Attaché asks for the report, and Maxman says the situation is grim. If worse comes to worse, they might have to abandon this castle. Hearing this, Attaché gets angry. Maxman says they are short on food and all the other essential supplies. But Attaché doesn't care. He says if you and your soldiers give up the castle, you all are better off as dead anyways. Maxman is taken aback by this callous attitude from a man who has never seen battle, questioning how someone who has never fought can treat the lives of soldiers as mere fodder. But still, Maxman can't disobey the attaché. The attaché commands Maxman to hold the castle at any cost for 1 more month, assuring Maxman that he is capable of accomplishing this task. After all, Maxman is considered as their kingdom's national hero. Maxman's anger begins to bubble, but before he can respond, a noise reverberates from outside. The castle doors have been forcefully breached by a man, and that man is none other than Sohyan.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man? Get your ass on, boy.